Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, now here I am with my review of number 6 on my list, continuing these top 10 hand-drawn anime Disney movie reviews, with a review of The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. So, yeah, I think Nostalgia Critic put it best in his Disney Summer review for this movie. I mean, who really doesn't love Winnie the Pooh? I mean, how can you really not like him? I mean, like he said, there are like people that despise Disney characters like Mickey Mouse and other Disney characters, but I don't think anybody has ever actually said that they hate Winnie the Pooh. I don't think anybody can really stoop to say that. And yeah, I mean, Winnie the Pooh has really in Disney has really just become a phenomenon over the years. I mean, Winnie the Pooh has really made like a real legacy on Disney. I mean, yeah, it really started with this movie, and it would eventually like spawn a lot of other Winnie the Pooh movies, like Pooh's Grand Adventure, Search for Christopher Robin, Winnie the Pooh Seasons of Giving, the Tigger movie, Piglet's Big Movie, Pooh's Heffalump movie, the 2011 Winnie the Pooh movie, and it also has spawned a lot of Winnie the Pooh TV shows like New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Book of Pooh, Friends, Tigger and Pooh. And so Winnie the Pooh has really like become a phenomenon with Disney. And yeah, this is a really, really, really great film. Yeah, Nostalgia Critic said himself that he actually feels that this movie is a lot better as an adult than it was for him as a child. And yeah, when I was a little kid, I really did love this movie. And even now, I mean, I still really do enjoy this movie. I mean, it really doesn't matter how old I get. I mean, everything I've seen with Winnie the Pooh when I was a child, I mean, it doesn't matter how old I get. I mean, it really doesn't take away any of my enjoyment that I've had from watching the stuff I grew up watching with Winnie the Pooh. I mean, I still think it is just as great. Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, but this one has really always been my favorite Winnie the Pooh movie. It was growing up, and yeah, I still think it is the best Winnie the Pooh movie right now. And I mean, yeah, it really doesn't, like I said before, it really doesn't matter how old I get. I mean, I still do enjoy this movie, and I still like, yeah, no matter how old I get, it doesn't really change how my enjoyment that I had of Winnie the Pooh when I was a kid. I still do enjoy the stuff just as much now, and yeah, that's the way a lot of you should feel. I mean, if there was like a show or a movie that was kind of like geared towards children that you really didn't like as a child, and you still really do enjoy it now, I mean, don't be embarrassed to admit that. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit that I still do enjoy the Winnie the Pooh stuff that I watch. I mean, I really haven't watched a lot of like newer Winnie the Pooh stuff. Like I haven't really seen a lot of the recent movies like the Piglet Big Movie and Heffalump movie and the 2011 movie. But yeah, the stuff that I did watch growing up, and when I rewatch it now, I mean, I still really do enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can make the debate whether or not this really is a Walt Disney movie because yeah, the movie was released in 1977, 11 years after Walt Disney's death, but I mean, the movie does feature like the three featurettes that Walt Disney had actually worked on. So, yeah, I guess you can make the debate whether or not could be considered a Walt Disney film. Yeah, but yeah, regardless on whether or not it's really a film by Walt Disney or not, I mean, it is still a really, really great movie. As I said, it does really just combine the three featurettes that Walt Disney have worked on for Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, and Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. But it's not like they just play one short or the featurettes and then it just like right away just cuts right to the next one. Like they actually do add in some new footage to actually have a transition into the next featurette. And yeah, the movie does have some humor to it, like some stuff with Tigger and Rabbit and everything. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, the characters are all just really memorable. Well, I mean, yeah, people really just know the characters. I mean, there's Pooh, Tigger, Piglet, Rabbit, Eeyore, Owl, Kangaroo, Christopher Robin. Yeah, I mean, it just goes on. And yeah, they're all really memorable characters. I mean, I really just can't find anything that's really not good about this movie. I mean, I think guess something that really like kind of prevents from going higher on this list is because it is a relatively short movie. I mean, like Cinderella, the movie is only about like an hour and 14 minutes. So it's a minute shorter than Cinderella, but it's still for the 74 minutes that it is for. I mean, it is overall really a flawless movie, I'd say. I mean, I mean, there's really like not really know, a main narrative for this movie. It's just kind of showing the adventures that Pooh and his friends are on for a significant amount of time, and yeah, it is. Yeah, and they really are like good kind of stories that they have, like with Pooh going for honey and like trying to find a home for Owl and the conflicts with Tigger and his bouncing and yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, they're all like good stories to tell for children, and yeah, and yeah, if you were like a child when this movie was originally released, yes, this is probably something that you may actually still watch now just to relive your childhood. And yeah, this movie was re-released when I was a young child, and yeah, I still have kept. Yeah, I still have, like I said before, still do enjoy it, no matter how old I really get. And yeah, it is a really, really great movie. I would give this 3.75 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, just really, really great. I mean, yeah, yeah, it has a lot of, well, some actors anyway, that really did stick around to reprise the role voicing these characters until they died. Like, you have John Fiedler as Piglet here, and he continued to voice Piglet for many years after this. Also, Paul Winchell as Tigger. You're here. And you have Sterling Holloway voice Pooh in this movie, but later on, like, Jim Cummings took over for Pooh, and yeah, I think more people associate Jim Cummings as Pooh than they really do Sterling Holloway. Yeah. And of course, you also have several memorable songs in this movie by the Sherman Brothers. Yeah, I mean, the Sherman Brothers were just really on top of the world with Disney at this time. I mean, they were also composers for Mary Poppins and The Jungle Book. And yeah, they had several memorable, great songs in those two movies here, too. And yeah, this movie is no exception. They still wrote several memorable songs in this movie. I mean, the Sherman Brothers are like two of the greatest composers of all time. Yeah, they're along the lines of people like John Williams and Danny Elfman, and yeah, composers like that, and Alan Menken, of course. Yeah, yeah, the Sherman Brothers are just like one of the best, greatest composers of all time. I mean, yeah, this is just a really, really, really great movie. I can't say that enough. So, I mean, yeah, let me just get right into it. So, yeah, like I said, it features the three. Yeah, it just combines the three featurettes that Walt worked on to just combine them into a full-length movie. And yeah, it starts off with Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. Yeah, it opens like all of the featurettes did, just in a live-action Christopher Robin room, just showing all of the toys of the characters. And then the narrator then introduces the room it belongs to Christopher Robin, and Christopher Robin has a lot of toys to play with, and his best friend is Winnie the Pooh, and it has the Pooh doll sitting right next to the book, and then the book opens and just has like an introduction song for all the characters, yeah. And then, yeah, and it actually goes into the story, and then Pooh hears his clock going off, and he knew it's time for something, but because he's a bear of very little brain, he doesn't remember what, and he's trying to figure out what, and then first he thinks it's his time for him to exercise, but that wasn't it. And then after his stomach starts growling, he thinks it's time for him to eat something, and then he goes for his honey pot, but he sees that the honey is empty. And then after he hears the bee buzzing, and then he remembered that bees also have honey, and so he tried to go up to the beehive to get some honey. He tried to climb the tree up to the beehive, but that didn't work. Then he went over to Christopher Robin to get a balloon to take him up to the hive, and Pooh then covered himself in mud to like pose as a rain cloud. And yeah, he tried to go for the honey again, and then he stuck his hand into the beehive, and he pulled it out. He had honey, but there were also a bunch of bees covering his hand. And he put honey in his mouth, and then yeah, all the bees were in his mouth too, and then he spat them all out. Yeah, then the bees just went after Pooh, and so yeah, that plan ended up failing too. Then eventually Rabbit then invited Pooh to lunch, and yeah, Pooh just pigged out on honey. And then as he was getting ready to leave, he just got so fat that he couldn't fit through Rabbit's front door, and Rabbit's front door was basically just like a cave. And yeah, Pooh got stuck in the door, and so Rabbit went to get Christopher Robin, and, and yeah, then and Owl then saw Pooh stuck, and then Gopher then popped up, and Gopher just said that he's not in the book, but he can help. And Gopher just said he could blast Pooh out of there. But he told Owl that he only works in cash, and then he just fell back into his hole, which has become like a running gag in a lot of Winnie the Pooh movies and shows. Yeah. Then Rabbit eventually brought Christopher Robin back to his house where he found Pooh stuck, and then Christopher Robin tried to pull Pooh out, but of course it didn't work. They just couldn't get Pooh out, and so Christopher Robin decided the only thing they could really do was wait for Pooh to get thin again. And then finally one day, Rabbit then finally just pushed on Pooh, and then Pooh budged from his door, and so everybody gathered together to pull Pooh out, and then Rabbit just charged at Pooh to just push him out, and then Pooh ended up flying out, and he just went flying all across the 100-acre wood, and just right into the beehive, and the bees bolted, and Pooh got stuck again. But Pooh had all of his honey right to him. Yeah. Then it transitioned to the next featurette, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day. And like I said, they actually add in some additional footage to actually transition. They don't just cut right to the next featurette. The narrator was just saying that the wind changed from east to west. Yes, and then it just caused wind all over the 100-acre wood, and then Pooh then traveled to his thoughtful spot while singing the Blustery Day song. And then Gopher then told Pooh that it was a Wednesday, and Pooh decided to wish all of his friends a happy Wednesday, starting with Piglet. And the Blustery Day feature was actually the one where both Piglet and Tigger were actually introduced. They weren't in the Honey Tree featurette at all, so Blustery Day was really the introduction into Winnie the Pooh for both Piglet and Tigger. And then it showed Piglet, and Piglet was saying that his home had actually been in his family, and had actually belonged to his grandfather. And he had a sign which said his grandfather's name, which he said Trespasser's Will, and he said it was short for Trespasser's William. And then the wind just ended up just blowing Piglet away. And then Piglet eventually bumped into Pooh, and then the wind just got so strong that it was just blasting Piglet up into the air, and Pooh held on to Piglet's scarf, but Piglet's scarf then just started to unravel, and then it just unraveled completely, and then Piglet was just holding on to the other side of the thread for his scarf, and then Piglet was just so high up in the air like a kite, and Pooh and Piglet were just passing by some of their other friends like Kanga and Roo, Eeyore, and then Rabbit, and they unintentionally helped Rabbit harvest his carrots in his garden, and then both of them eventually just got blown way up into the sky, and then they landed on Owl's house, which was just like a house in a tree, and then all the wind was causing it to rock. And Owl let Pooh and Piglet in his house, and then eventually his house just ended up tipping over completely and destroying it. The tree just tipped over completely and his house was destroyed. And then Eeyore decided that it was time to find Owl a new home, and then Eeyore took it upon himself to find Owl a new home. And then later that night, at Pooh's home, Pooh then heard noises outside, and he opened his door to find out what it was, and then turned out Tigger jumped into and Tigger jumped in, and he introduced himself to Pooh, and when Pooh asked what a Tigger was, then Tigger just sang his wonderful thing about Tigger's song. And then Tigger was then just hungry, and then he saw Pooh's honey jar. And then he said Tiggers love honey, and then after he started eating it, he just went yuck, and Tiggers don't like honey. And Tigger just said that honey was only for heffalumps and woozles, and Tigger told Pooh that heffalumps and woozles steal honey. And then later on, then it started to rain, and then Pooh then fell asleep, and that night he had a dream of Heffalumps and Woozles, and we had the Heffalumps and Woozles bit with the song, which was, yeah, which was like, yeah, it was like really strange, but it was a good strange, and yeah, it is a good song, and it was a good segment, yeah. And then Pooh eventually did wake up, and then like the rain was just getting so bad that it was causing a flood over the 100-acre wood and flooding a lot of people's houses, a lot of their houses. Yeah, and then everyone was gathering at Christopher Robin's, and yeah, Piglet then, after seeing the flood in his house, he then wrote sent a help message, and then yeah, Piglet ended up being floated away on his chair. And then, yeah, Pooh also ended up recovering some of his honey pots, and as he was eating honey from a jar, then he just fell in the water and was floated away too. And then Christopher Robin eventually found Piglet's message and sent Owl over to Piglet's house to assure him they'd rescue him. And as Owl was flying off, he saw Piglet and Pooh floating in the water. And yeah, Owl was trying just to calm Piglet down by telling him some of his family stories, which Owl is kind of, yeah, that's what Owl does, just constantly tell stories of his family and stuff. Yeah, and then they approached a waterfall as they fell, and then, yeah, Piglet fell in Pooh's honey pot, and then Pooh just landed on Piglet's chair. And then, yeah, they then reached the other side of the water, at the bottom of the fall. Then Christopher Robin then found Piglet and Pooh, and after finding Piglet and Pooh's honey pot, Christopher Robin declared Pooh a hero and decided to give him his own hero party. And during that party, then Igor then told everyone that he found Owl's new house, and he took them to the new house, which actually ended up being Piglet's house. Igor figured that since he thought Owl's name was on the sign, which spelled with the W-I-L, Igor thought it spelled owl, saying W-O-L. And then, yeah, Piglet did agree to give Owl his house, and Pooh then let Piglet stay with him. And everybody declared Piglet as a hero too for giving Owl his home. And so, yeah, they then celebrated a hero party for both Piglet and Pooh. And as it was like setting to transition into the next short, the narrator was just telling Pooh and Piglet actually like kind of hints on what was going to go on in the next chapter. All three of the featurettes are just kind of considered as different chapters of the book in this movie. Yeah, and the narrator was just telling Pooh that it would be mostly about Tigger, but Pooh would still be in it. And yeah, then it kicked off the Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2 featurette. And then yeah, it just showed like Tigger like bouncing everybody, and then Rabbit just had enough of it after Tigger ruined his garden. And then Rabbit came up with an idea just to take Tigger on a walk in the woods and then lose him and just leave Tigger there until the next day. And then the next day as they were taking Tigger on a walk, after Rabbit felt they lost Tigger, then he started to lead them home. And then Pooh just felt that they kept going around circles, and they just kept going to the same place, since he kept seeing a sand pit that they were constantly walking by. And Rabbit tried to prove to Pooh that he doesn't know where he's going, and that he would be able to find the pit again. And then Rabbit took off to prove it. And yeah, Pooh and Piglet waited forever, and then Pooh just decided to Piglet to go home, and he felt that he could find the way by his honeypots calling to his tummy. And then Tigger eventually found Pooh and Piglet, and they told Tigger that Rabbit was still missing in the mist in the woods, and Tigger went to find him. And then it showed Rabbit was actually lost in the mist, and his mind was starting to play tricks on him. And then he got scared by croaking frogs and a caterpillar eating. Then Rabbit just bolted off, and then Tigger eventually found Rabbit, and Tigger just told Rabbit that Tiggers never get lost, and then he just was bouncing with Rabbit holding onto his tail. And it transitioned to like another chapter of the story with it snowing in the 100-acre wood. And yeah, as Tigger and Roo were out playing in the snow, and and Tigger then tried showing Roo that the Tiggers could like bounce up into trees, and then Tigger bounced up into a high tree where he bounced all the way to the top, and then once he got there, he then saw like how high he really was, and Tigger just got really scared. And then eventually Pooh and Piglet then found Tigger and Roo up in the tree, and then yeah, Tigger was just freaking out and wanted Christopher Robin to come, and yeah, Christopher Robin eventually got there, and he helped Roo get down by just jumping into his snow coat, but Tigger was refusing to get down because he was too scared, and yeah, Rabbit was just saying that if Tigger won't come down, then he'll just have to stay up there forever, and then yeah, Tigger then just said that he promised never to bounce again if he got out of there. And then and Tigger just finally spoke with the narrator, asking him to narrate him down. And then, yeah, the book then tipped over, allowing Tigger to come down on the words of the book. And then, yeah, Tigger just then slid down. And after he got there, he was going to bounce of joy, but then Rabbit was, like, really strict about Tigger not bouncing anymore. And then, yeah, Tigger was just crushed and started to just walk off. And everyone else was just really upset about it and said they liked the old Tigger better, and yeah, then they convinced Rabbit to also admit that he liked him better too, and then yeah, basically saying that Tigger could bounce again, and then yeah, everyone was just all bouncing together in happiness, and Tigger singing his Wonderful Thing About Tigger song again. And then it finally cut to the last chapter, which, well, this was completely new, like this wasn't part of any featurette, and yeah, this was just the narrator, like, explaining that Christopher Robin was going off to school and nobody really knew where he was going. And then, yeah, it just ends with Christopher Robin talking to Pooh, saying that even if he's gone, asking Pooh if even if he's gone, if Pooh will still be there for him. And yeah, Pooh agreed. And yeah, it just ended with Pooh and Christopher Robin and running off together, and the narrator just saying that wherever they go, Pooh will always be waiting for Christopher Robin. And yeah, book just closed, and then that Pooh doll just ended up winking at us. And it ended. So, yeah, 3.75 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, a really, really great movie. I mean, yeah, like I said before, yeah, no matter how old I get, it doesn't take away any of my enjoyment for this. And yeah, that's how all you should feel, too. If there's something that is, like, a children's show that you really enjoyed, and if you still really enjoy it right now, don't be embarrassed to admit it. Alright, so, yeah, okay, so that does it for my review of The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, so, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.